I'm afraid I'm still thinking about this prostitution challenge thing. Give me a price list or tell me why you won't thing. Yeah, just as a bit of context in case you come into this video for the first time. It's really prompted by a number of videos, one video in particular, which is arguing for the legalisation of prostitution on kind of feminist grounds. And it's a really, really complex and interesting set of issues around that. But you know, one of the ways I responded to that was to think, as a kind of thought experiment, is to invite this question, well, give me a price list or tell me why you personally as a woman won't do that. And I'm still kind of waiting for good responses to it. A lot of people have said various things. Let's turn around here. Oh, you know, mostly appealing to the kind of dignity of labour argument. You know, I wouldn't personally do it, but I would respect someone else's right to do it. That kind of thing. You know, and citing as examples, I wouldn't want to be a fireman, but I respect the work of firemen. I wouldn't want to be a coal miner, but I respect the work of coal miners, and those kind. I can kind of see where that's coming from. But I think there are some subtle differences in there which need to be brought out. At least I feel I need to bring them out for myself. Because I think the reasons why people wouldn't like the idea of being a prostitute are different. And, you know, it doesn't say anything about what the lives of real prostitutes and sex workers. It doesn't say anything about the actual experience of people employed in those industries at all. It's about perceptions and value judgments and measures of esteem, I think, and status, perhaps. You know, because for example, if you, I can imagine someone saying, yes, I really respect the work of steeplejacks, but I wouldn't want to do it. And if you ask them why, they say, well, I'm frightened of heights. And that makes a lot of sense. You know, I mean, you're taking the responsibility for your inability to do that thing upon yourself. You're saying, no, it's a valuable job, I respect it. I personally couldn't do it. There is a weakness in me which prevents me doing that. Or, you know, accountancy. I couldn't do accountants because I'm no good. I couldn't be an accountant because I'm no good at figures. You know, the job is more or less respectable, and then you kind of position yourself in a negative relationship to that by saying I'm not good at figures. And there's, you know, I imagine there's lots of others. You know, I couldn't be a comedian. I'm just not funny enough, or you know, whatever it may be. But then there's this class of activities, and prostitute is one of those, I think, which is a much more kind of subtle and covert set of value judgments. You know, when people say, I respect the work of prostitutes, but I couldn't do that myself. You know, why not? You know, that's my question, I suppose. And it's not I'm not trying to provoke an offence, I'm just trying to genuinely get to the bottom of that. I mean, it's not enough just to say, oh, I wouldn't like it, because it just, you know, just begs the question, well, why don't you like it? What is it about that job that you don't like? And it might be because it's dangerous, or it's perceived to be dangerous. It might be that, like a steeplejack. I don't think so. Or it might be perceived to be boring. I'm sure it is occasionally. But I don't really think that's what's fueling it as well. I think it's to do with status. Certainly in the previous videos and the comments, there's been lots of comparison to prostitution to cleaning out lavatories. That kind of, not random manual labour, but manual labour which, for good or ill reason, has a low status attached to it. You know, I didn't even mention that in the first couple of videos I did. People have repeatedly gone back to this, and I've since discovered that Catherine McKinnon, the feminist writer, also made that comparison. So there is something going on there, and which I don't think a simple statement of, oh, I wouldn't want to be a prostitute because I wouldn't like it, although I respect the you know, other people doing it, I don't think it captures. I think if you follow it up by why don't you like it, sooner or later I think you're going to come across some kind of a reference to esteem or status or value, or possibly even to concepts like decency, dignity, you know, those kind of heavily loaded value terms, and terms of kind of moral estimation, really. And I think once that happens, there is something very different going on. You know, once you're making that kind of a call, you're no longer taking the negative value upon yourself. You know, if I say I can't do the steeplejack's job because I am unworthy of that task because I'm too scared, I can't do the accountant's job because I am too lowly to have the mathematical skills you would need, that is hugely different to saying I couldn't do the prostitute's job because it is too lowly a profession for me. It's fine for other people, but it's too lowly for me. You know, I think as soon as you start making those kind of calls, you know, that's a bit odd. It's okay for other people, but it's not okay for me, for moral or esteem or status reasons. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's lurking behind a lot of this. It might not be the only reason, and yeah, that's all I've got to say. It might not be the only reason, but I think it is one of the reasons.